I'm Alex Vetter. I'm the marketing manager here at EasyMorph, and we're thrilled to have you joining us for today's session, How to Get Everyone on the Same Page Without Paying a Fortune, where we'll show you how you can finally get technical and business people on the same page. If you have any questions, please send them in chat, and at the end of the presentation, we'll open up to a Q&A for everyone. So let's go ahead and get started with today's agenda. Today, we'll briefly go over a quick overview of what we're talking about. That includes an introduction of why fragmented tools waste time and money, and how teams often use too many tools to do the work that can be done in one place. For the next section, we'll have one of our experts talking about how EasyMorph works as a data hub for both business users and technical teams. The next section, we'll talk about how EasyMorph can work as a collaboration tool, replacing multiple tools with a single shared workspace. And at the end, we'll go over Q&A questions, so feel free to drop them in chat throughout the webinar. So today we have two experts joining us. We have Matt Fryer and Dmitry Gudkov. If you've been on some of our other webinars, you've probably seen them before. Matt is our technology evangelist. He does a lot of great work helping our customers solve data problems, and he's also featured in most of the videos that EasyMorph promotes and creates. And we have Dmitry, who is our founder of EasyMorph. Combined, they have over 50 years of experience helping teams with data problems, and they're going to show you how you can solve one of the oldest problems in the book, getting everyone on the same page. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Dmitry.
Thank you, Alex. I'm going to share my screen. So first, let's start with the definition of the problems and why we're talking about getting everyone on the same page. Isn't it a solved problem? Because well, we have so many so many enterprise applications that are supposed to bring us on the same page. Yet, if you look at a typical organization nowadays, a big bank or a retail chain or a telecommunications operator or a hospital, it turns out that it's the way how people work with the information and how they access reports, database extracts, files, dashboards. It's still very disconnected, and this is somewhat surprising because I remember about 15-20 years ago there was a big movement in the IT industry towards solving the data silos problem. And data silos meant that there existed isolated islands of data. Typically, that would be one business application, another business application, then a database or something else. And those applications, they weren't integrated with each other. So every application held some piece of information, knowledge about maybe one application about transactions, another application about customers, and so on. But they were not integrated, and that's how data silos existed. Fast forward 20 years, and nowadays there are many solutions to solve data silos in the so-called in the upstream, meaning in data sources. Well, nowadays there are data warehouses, data lakes houses, and base lakes and whatnot. But surprisingly, the problem with data silos still remain, but this time it remains downstream. It remains for the end user. So when data is processed and when it's prepared, when it's aggregated, maybe consolidated, but it's still hard for the end users to access it because, well, there are network folders with a bunch of Excel spreadsheets. Then there are BI platforms like Power BI or Tableau that pretend like nothing else exists. So, well, you cannot open a Tableau report from Power BI, or there is no even a single portal to put them together like in one environment. Yet, I'm not even saying about something like Google Sheets or SharePoint lists or just some network folders. And of course that creates friction, because if you have the data you need to work with on a daily basis. But if the data is scattered all over the place in different locations, systems, folders, platforms, applications, and whatnot, that creates ambiguity. And because some people in your team may think that you've reached your targets or you are doing well, but other people may look at different documents or different numbers or different reports, and they may have a different opinion. So you're not on the same page. And if you're not on the same page, it's hard to coordinate work. It's hard to collaborate. It's hard to understand what needs to be done, what are the setbacks, what we need to improve. So it's a drag on productivity overall. And unfortunately, there was no good solution for that typically in organizations. And even when data engineers and data analysts, they try to stitch together different applications, it still requires a lot of coding, a lot of integration, and it doesn't feel natural. It's still very disconnected. It's poorly integrated. It's clunky. It's cumbersome. And it requires a lot of ceremony. So today we will be talking about how to address these problems. And we offer a solution that is called EasyMorph Explorer. So probably if you are familiar or if you heard about EasyMorph previously, you know that EasyMorph is a data preparation and data automation application or platform. So EasyMorph Explorer, it's a solution that is built on top of our data automation on top of our data automation platform. And the goal of this solution, the goal of the Explorer, is to offer a means to build what I call a control room for your team, or multiple control rooms for your multiple teams. So what does that mean? So what would that be? So first of all, these control rooms or these collaborative environments, they offer a single point of access to all the data your team needs. BI dashboards, database extracts, files, remote locations like OneDrive or Google Drive. Also automations, tasks, if you need to move data, if you need to perform calculations or trigger automations. It's all in one environment. Second, and Matt will demonstrate it later in the webinar, Explorer offers a way to interlink all the data you work with, regardless of its location. It means that you can start looking at customers, and customer data can come from one application, and then in one click you will move to another data set. Let's look, for instance, looking at the orders of a particular customer, and then going from orders, you can look maybe go to inventory, or maybe look to the delivery schedule in a particular area. So you can navigate and browse your company's data as if it was an internet, but just for data. So it's interlinked, it's interconnected, and no matter where the data is physically located. And finally, this working with just quantitative data, just numbers, metrics, tables, that's never enough, because any team operates in a context, and that context is not just numbers. Any context, it's some knowledge about your current context, current situation. What are the goals? Who is working? What are the risks? What are the problems, alerts, errors, notifications, useful information, references? So all that creates a context in which a team operates. And surprisingly, again, many enterprise software vendors, they, especially working in BI analytics, they completely ignore this aspect of Teams, but we address it with Explorer. So that's what we will be talking about today. From a technical perspective, the Explorer has three components. It's a data catalog, or a catalog of data assets, and Matt will talk more about this in a moment. Then we have collaborative boards. That's an interesting product. You may have never seen anything like that previously. And then the Explorer comes with a built-in issue tracker. It's a task management tool, and we will talk about this as well. A few words about, if you're new to EasyMorph, then a few words about why choose EasyMorph. Well, so EasyMorph, it's a versatile data platform which goal is to provide you with tools to automate your daily operations, your daily work with data. So it's a data automation and preparation platform. It's easy to use. It's designed for people with different levels of technical skills. Half of our user base are completely non-technical people. Besides that, EasyMorph operates with high-level abstractions and takes care a lot of technical details, so you don't have to think about authentication mechanisms, or maybe things like resolving access conflicts and something like that. And finally, it's a tightly integrated, unified platform that has multiple components that can be combined in different scenarios to automate or to address various data challenges and problems that an organization might have. Well, now I'm passing the mic to Matt, who will start with the catalog.
Thank you. I'll share my screen. And we can start taking a look at the catalog. So before we dive in and look at the catalog itself, there's a few questions we need to consider first. And the obvious one is, well, what is the catalog? And as Dimitri said, the catalog is a sort of store or repository for individual pieces of information or resources or data which an individual or a team need to do their job. And every item that we add to the catalog, every one of those resources, we know or we call an asset. And it's important to know that these assets aren't physically stored within the catalog. They are referenced from the catalog or linked to from the catalog, and they remain where they actually sit in the real world. So this means we can bring together assets from lots of different locations. Just for data assets, they can be from network drives, they can be from databases, they can be from the cloud or business systems, and they can remain where they are, but we can still add them as an asset to the catalog. There are different types of assets supported within the catalog, and there are quite a long list of supported assets, but you can split them into two main types. Data assets, and the most obvious form is tables of data. But there's also kind of other types of assets which relate to data, such as charts or KPI objects as well, that are also supported in the catalog. And one of the big things that makes the Explorer catalog different from data catalogs in many other business data tools or BI tools is that it doesn't just support data assets, but it also supports other types of assets as well, such as files or folders of files or web links. And all of this additional information, which, as Dimitri said, is really important because data tables in themselves are only so useful if the person or the people in the business don't understand the information they contain. And so ability to add other types of assets brings together that information and helps to give us context to those sort of data assets that we add. Each asset isn't just that link to a resource or a data file, but it also contains metadata about that resource as well. simple descriptions or the title or the name of that resource, which are sort of consistent across all asset types. But there are also individual types of metadata that are specific to certain types of assets that we add. For example, a table of data that can have information in the metadata about the fields it contains and what those fields are, where they're sourced from, what data types they contain, etc. And the other piece of information or type of data that can go into the metadata for an asset is relationships. And as Dimitri said, it's really important that we don't just have these individual tables or resources available in our isolation, but they often relate to each other. And so we can start our sales performance figures, and that can relate to another data asset, which is the granular sales figures for the last month. And those relationships can be important, and they can help people to understand the data and to explore the data as well in the catalog. We really, by joining that data together, and there are different mechanisms, and we'll look at those different mechanisms in the catalog shortly. By joining all that data together, it really becomes a kind of spider's web of information that a user can find one asset, enter at any point in that spider's web, and navigate through that spider's web in any direction that they need, or sort of set of steps that make sense to them and what they're trying to achieve. And so we could start off with a data set that's from our sales figures from our CRM system, and that can be related to a link to that CRM system that is also an asset. And that link could be related to a PDF document as an asset, which is the user manual for that CRM system, so that we can, all of that information can go in and be usable and explorable by the users to find what they need, again, to do their job. One last concept that we will look at in action in a minute, but it's worth touching on first, is that assets most types of assets, not all, but most of them, can be either computed or pre-computed. Pre-computed assets are in the sort of, take the example of a data file again. That data file has already been created and it's been stored on a disk somewhere or in a file location somewhere. And so when the user wants to access that asset that's pre-computed, it's instantly available for them very, very quickly, as we used to in opening data files. But there's a problem with those data pre-computed assets in that they're not always up to date. They are only as up to date as when they were last created. And so we also have the concept of computed assets, and these, in the context of data files or data tables, are generated at the point that the user requests them. And so obviously, depending on the volume of data and the complexity of the logic to source that data and calculate it, it may be a bit slower to provide those resources to the user. But on the other side of things, they are always up to date. They're generated at the request, and so those are always contain the very latest data. So neither is necessarily better than the other. They both have use cases, and it's important to note that these don't just apply to data sets. They can apply to other types of assets as well. So a web link asset, for example, can be a fixed predefined path, or it could be a computed path based upon some logic or some user input. So it applies to not just data assets, but other assets, as we'll see. So let's now jump into Explorer and to the catalog, and we can start to see some of these assets and what we can do with them. To navigate to the catalog from the EasyMorph server UI, we can go to Explorer and then to catalog. And we see instantly a sort of set of cards for each of the assets that are available in this catalog. Now, we don't just want this to be a really, really long list, so we can organize and find these assets in various ways. First of all, we can categorize assets together into categories. So I can create a finance category where I keep all my finance assets in there, and I can have subcategories within that, one for each financial year, where I can find the assets that are relevant just to that financial year. And so we can create categories for any purpose that makes sense for how we want to group and help people to find that data. We can also search the catalogue, and those sort of searches are across the whole of the catalogue, not just within the current category that we're looking at. And so if I look for order and search for that, I get all of the assets that have that word in them in their name, but I also get it from all of that other metadata as well. And so if I've got a description of the asset that has that word in it, I will receive it. If it's a data asset and it contains a field that contains that word, then I also get that field that back as a result. And so I might not know the name exactly what I want, but it's very easy for me to start to find what assets exist in what I might want and contain the information or the data that I might be looking for. So if we go back and let's start considering the different types of assets. Now, there are lots of different types of assets. The vast majority can be added from the server UI. There are a couple which can't, and you still have to add them from within EasyMorph Desktop connected to EasyMorph Server. But in the next version, version 6 coming later this year, we'll be introducing all of the asset types available. And we've more planned for the future as well. There's lots more asset types in discussion and being looked at to develop later this year or next year. Briefly then, to look at EasyMorph Desktop, we can also access Explorer and we can see the same catalog. And so all of those data resources are available not just to business end users via the web browser, but they're also available to those data engineers or the more data savvy amongst us who want to take those data assets and do further manipulations or calculations with them. And so we can access the same data, the same resources directly from both the web browser for those business end users, but also from EasyMorph Desktop for those who are using it to automate and to process data. I'll spend most of our time then back in the web browser, just because it's sort of the easiest and simplest for us to look at today. So let's consider some examples of assets. I'll go to my sales category because it's nice and simple and straightforward and easy for us to all understand. As we can see, there are different types of assets. We've got various table assets or data sets. We've got metric assets, etc. So let's start with probably the most common thing you're going to want to add to the catalog, and that's a pre-computed data set. So for those of us who are familiar with EasyMorph and EasyMorph Desktop and building sort of workflows to process our data, we'll be familiar with EasyMorph dataset files, which contain a table of information, but they also can contain the analysis view, which helps us to explore and understand that table of data. And the same applies to those dataset files being a pre-computed asset in the EasyMorph catalog. I can view the data, but I can also apply filters. I can view the tables of information that are there. I can add additional filters if I want to and explore that data. So it isn't just, here's a big table of data. It can help you to start to understand and those business users to really use that data. And of course, it's not fixed and stuck in the catalog. I can get it out. So those business users who do want to get it into Excel to use it for whatever purpose, they can download either a filtered set or the entire data set. In CSVs or Excel files are all familiar other file formats that we use every day. So that's a static data or a pre-computed data set. And as you saw, it was instantly available and very, very quick for us to access. In contrast, then, a computed data set isn't an EasyMorph dataset file because it's not already created. It is, in fact, a EasyMorph workflow. And so, as well as just returning a table of data and going and getting it from a location first and manipulating it and passing it to the user, it can also ask the user for user input. So, for example, I might want to provide an asset, but it's huge amounts of data, and most of the time users only need data within a certain range. So I can make the asset prompt the user for a start and end date, and then use that in the EasyMorph workflow that underlies that computed data asset to go use those dates, get the data between those two dates, pass it back to the user. So if I look at a very simple example, this asset of a list of clients in a specific industry requests that I enter or select a specific industry to only return clients within that industry. I'll leave it as energy, which I last used. And we can see that it takes a little bit of time to generate this asset and provide it to us. It wasn't instantly available because it did have to do a bit of work. And it's quite a large set of data. But being EasyMorph, this is normally incredibly fast. And so it's only if you have really large sets of data or very complex logic that these assets don't return within a few seconds. But again, just like a computed asset, just like a pre-computed asset, a computed asset allows us to have filters. It can have that analysis view as well, and we can use it and download it in just the same way. So whilst we're looking at dataset assets, there is one other sort of topic or ability within those datasets, which looks back to what we talked about linking those assets and making them explorable as a sort of spider's web of data. And you may have noticed that within the data tables that we've looked at already, we have blue values in the tables that very much look like web hyperlinks. These are known as commands, and we can add commands to both computed and pre-computed data sets. And those commands can do just about anything that we want to, because when I execute a command, and I have one here to open orders for that specific customer that I've selected, again, it runs a computed data set, passing that company name into it, going and getting the data just for that company and bringing that data back. And so I can add commands in my data sets to directly link individual values to other data set assets, computed or pre-computed, within the catalog. And that really helps users to explore it. Commands aren't just restricted to using to navigate between resources or assets within the catalog. You can create commands to do just about anything because they are ultimately running an EasyMorph automation workflow, and so they don't just have to be about data. For example, I can have a command that opens Google Maps for that location in my web browser as well, and that will calculate, take me to Google Maps. It's found that location for me, and so I don't just have to navigate to other data assets, but I can create links to just about anything directly into a business system, to that record in that business system, if it's a web-based system. So as well as looking at those sort of data assets, we also have some other data types. We talked about charts. We also talked about metrics or KPIs, and they're one of my favorite types of assets in the catalog. These KPIs or metrics, as you can see, available are displayed directly in the catalog, and anytime I look at them, it gives me the information or the value in that KPI. It's important to note that these KPIs, unlike KPIs or metrics in business intelligence dashboards, which can often be somewhat behind, they're always giving you a historic number, because it takes time for that data to filter down from source through our ETL processes all the way down and get loaded into our BI tools. And so those KPIs or metrics in our BI tools can always have a lag, a bit of delay. Because EasyMorph's metrics are part of the catalog and they're baked into this ecosystem, they can be updated directly from EasyMorph workflows as those workflows are processing that data through our ETL pipelines. And so these metrics can be 100% up to date, real time, always seeing the very latest. So if I refresh the browser, we've so far today processed 2018 orders. Hopefully, if we refresh, we will see that those total has gone up because in the background, that metric has been updated and has been refreshed. And you'll notice, obviously, the failed orders is red. We can conditionally format them so that they stand out green or red to really highlight to those users what that number is, and to pick out when things need to be investigated. Another type of asset that I really like then is those files or folders of files. And again, because EasyMorph's catalog assets are founded by that power of EasyMorph server in the background, we can locate and navigate to files in the web browser, but they're not stored in EasyMorph's catalog. They can be wherever. So I can connect EasyMorph's assets in the catalog, file and folder assets, to just about any data source that EasyMorph supports. It might be local files, it might be desktop or network drive files. It might be in the cloud in Azure or Amazon AWS. It could be on Dropbox or Google Drive. Just about any sort of file location that is supported in EasyMorph, we can connect in, and we can list and display files from there, or folders of files as assets. Again, helping our users to find the information that's relevant to them really quickly. They don't have to know where it is. They don't have to sort of go and find that in the relevant cloud app. It can be all in one place, all brought together, irrelevant of where they really sit in the real world. And finally, link assets. We saw those links that can go out to Google. Very much like that, we can have assets that are links. So I can link directly to that CRM system that all that sales data came from. And then my users can log in and find that. So again, one place, one location to find, whether it's our BI or CRM tool or whatever it might be. There are other asset types. We won't go through them all. We haven't got time, but I really suggest you explore some of these other asset types that are available and what the catalog can do. The one last thing I wanted to sort of point out and talk about then is that we mentioned a couple of things in relation to EasyMorph Desktop. So there are a couple of actions in EasyMorph workflows that are really kind of valuable when working with the catalog. So very quickly then, if you search for the catalog, you'll find two commands. The catalog command, this allows us to interact with the catalog in lots of different ways. It allows us to add things to the catalog, remove them, update them, add and change that metadata about them, etc. And one of the key ones is that those metric values, they have some commands to set the values or increment those values of those metrics in the catalog as well, so that they are real time as your EasyMorph workflows are running, processing that data. And of course, for those data engineers or more data savvy people who want to use those data assets in EasyMorph workflows to build upon those foundation data assets to do more things or ad hoc analysis, they can retrieve one of those assets from the catalog and use that to build a workflow from there to explore that data and combine it with other data and perform whatever additional analysis they need. So hopefully that's given you a starting view at least of the catalog and what you might be able to do with it. I'll pass over to Dimitri then, who'll talk you through some of the other things in Explorer and what you can do with those as well.
Thank you, Matt. Let me take over the screen. So the catalog is the foundation of the Explorer, and the catalog can be used on its own, so that you can retrieve the data assets you need to work with and explore them and go from one data set to another data set, or from a data set to a Power BI report and in different other directions. But eventually you may find yourself having hundreds or even thousands of different assets, even if they are put nicely into different catalog directories and subdirectories. It may still be not convenient for teams who usually work only with a subset of all corporate data, and that's why we've created boards. So boards, that's another component of the Explorer. So what's a board? my favorite way of thinking about boards is to think of them as of collaborative home pages. So you create boards from sections. You will see it in a moment, and you can put a subset of catalog assets and some other resources, as you will see in a moment. You can put it on a board. So these boards, they become focused on a specific focus area. So what this can be, for instance, if you work with let's say data transformation and ETL, and you have ETL pipelines, you can have a board dedicated to an ETL process, to your data process, and that board would show, for instance, how many records have been processed today, how many data quality errors. The board will show issues, and we'll talk about that in a moment, issues that were raised automatically when a data quality error was encountered. But also you can see trends. How many errors you had compared to the previous date or in the whole week. So you can see a chart, or you can see a table, which can also be part of the form. Part of the board. And that's one example. Another example, you can create a board for a business process. For instance, you have an e-commerce organization, and you receive orders from multiple channels. So you can have a borders that will show you real-time information on incoming orders, how many orders you received from different channels. Are there any incomplete orders or orders that need manual intervention? And again, you can use the issue sections for that. You can have links to jump to specific orders in a specific system. For instance, you want to find the biggest order, and you are curious, like who made this big order. So in one click, you can go from your board to an underlined or to a web-based inventory management system or a CRM system, and look closer into details of this particular order. So that's another example. One more example, you can use boards to focus on certain technological processes. Let's say you have an assembly line, and you want to process so you want to monitor the efficiency of this assembly line. What's the total downtime in the last 24 hours? How many products have been assembled on this assembly line? And also boards can be used for management, just for management purposes. So you can put your target metrics, your goals on the board. You can attach links to BI dashboards, to company documents, such as maybe like strategy document or some other useful documents. It is important to say that boards are not BI dashboards. Even they may look somewhat similar to BI dashboards, they are not BI dashboards in a number of ways. First, they have different goals. Well, BI dashboards may give you an overall idea, can give you a quick look at some KPIs, and then you can do some kind of data analysis or historical data analysis. The purpose of a collaborative board in EasyMorph is different. Its purpose is to create a context for your team, and that context you can link a Tableau or Power BI dashboard from this homepage, but an EasyMorph board is not for that. It creates a context. It links to the necessary resources, and it helps you to collaborate and automate your team operations where it's possible. So let's look at an example. a board. So here is a sample board, and as you can see, board consists of different sections. When we edit a board, we can add different sections to these boards, and all the sections are real time. They are updated instantly. So for instance, if a metric changes, the metric will be updated here instantly. Boards can have multiple sections or section types already. So you can have a section with metrics, you can have a section with issues or tickets. You can have a section with different catalog assets linked to the boards, and you can open these assets right from the board in one click. So for instance, if you need to look at a data set, we click a button or a shortcut, and we retrieve this data set that we can explore, navigate, and maybe go to other data sets, linked data sets. We can put shortcuts to network locations. For instance, in this case, we are opening a folder on an SFTP server, so we can browse that remote SFTP server, upload, download files if necessary, right in EasyMorph. We can link documents, or well, here's an example. I linked just a random PDF document to this board, so you can link. If let's say you have some instructions, let's say for the users, or you have some compliance documents, or something, maybe government information. Again, you can link it. You can link it to a board and have it handy and easy to access for your team members. And of course, you can attach workflow assets from the catalog. These assets just execute a workflow. So if you need to perform some action, let's say you uploaded some files to SFTP, to a remote SFTP folder, and then you can click a button and trigger a workflow that would process these files and do something with them. A chart section, well, you can link data sets with charts with the analysis view, and these and the charts from the analysis view will appear in your board as well. Also, these charts are updated in real time. So if you monitor a technological process or an ETL pipeline, whatever is recently updated in the chart will be immediately updated on the board. Same with tables. And one more type of section is tasks. These are the same tasks that you may already know from if you use EasyMorph Server. But a section or a group of these tasks can be embedded into a board as an individual section. So again, you can trigger different automations and perform different routines that you need to do on a daily basis. So that's a sample board. What else will be added to boards soon? So we are actively developing boards and adding more and more sections. Next year, we will add many more section types. We will add a section for file location, so you will be able to upload, download files right into a board. We will add a section with so-called labels. There are like metrics, but text labels that can update in real time, so you can see statuses. Let's say you have a nuclear reactor and it goes offline, so you will say a label, okay, your reactor goes offline and it's red and it's flashing, something like that. A section with controls where you will be able to change inputs. For instance, you can have a toggle switch. You can have a toggle switch that enables or disables, let's say, an ETL pipeline. So you put a toggle, you switch a toggle, and then your ETL pipeline is disabled. Or you can use a date picker. For instance, if you work in finance and you close the previous month, so you want to communicate to everybody what's the latest date that is already closed, so you can progress and change the date to a later date as soon as a date is closed. Topics, that's basically like a news feed where people can post messages, or those messages can be generated automatically. A pin board where you can put simple notes on a board and organize and share information. Let's say Monday is a banking holiday in Canada, so don't expect any payments from Canada on Monday, and everybody is on the same page, everybody understands what's going on. And finally, calendar views where you can view and manage upcoming events right and in an EasyMorph board. Now let's talk about another mechanism, issues. So issues are an integral part of board. So for instance, here you see a section with issues. So what is this about? What's an issue? So let's start with that, with defining what's an issue. In the most simple case, an issue it's a node. It's a node with a few some smart attachments. A node meaning that it has a title, it has a description, and you can add attachments which are catalog assets. So and this is an extremely powerful feature of issues, because it makes them smart. It makes them programmable. Because you can attach many pre-computed and computed assets to an issue. And these assets, these attachments, they can provide, for instance, additional context. They can link to dashboards with pre-configured filters. So when you open a BI dashboard, it's already pre-filtered to specific time period or to a specific customer. You can link documents, you can link database records, for instance, you can link network folders, or you can pre-configure workflows with some parameters. You can have a workflow for approval, for instance, so the user would just click a button in that issue, and it will automatically approve something. So nodes, issues in its simplest form as nodes, they can be used, for instance, for alerts. If you monitor a certain KPI, let's say inventory level, and that inventory level on a certain warehouse, when it drops below a certain threshold, you can get an alert. Well, your inventory is too low. Or maybe if you have a data quality problem, then it also can be raised or created as an issue automatically by a workflow, and then you will decide what to do with it, and that issue can have a subset of records attached so that you can see in which specific records there is this data quality problem. An issue can be raised for suspicious transactions. Let's say you received a payment, but that looks suspicious, so you may get notified. Your team may get notified about this transaction using a board. And but that's not it. So if nodes can be expanded into a full feature task. So if you add, well, the blue fields are optional. So if you add an issue type or an assignee or a due date or an issue state, then you get a whole task that can be assigned to a person, and the task can have different states. Let's say not ready, in progress, approaching completion, finished, or abandoned or delayed. So you can have different tasks. So you can issue states, and in this case, you can cover even more scenarios. Let's say you can use issues as a support tickets. You can have whole incoming orders organized as issues assigned to people with due dates and automatic processing. An interesting use case for issues is AI validation. Well, there is a lot of AI experimentation with AI nowadays, and it's already clear that in some cases, whatever AI generates needs to be validated by a human. So you can have your automations create issues with some AI generated results, but then these issues will be assigned to a human that would validate the result and make sure that whatever AI generated makes sense and doesn't create any legal problems or some other problems that may arise from the random nature of LLMs. So that's another use case. Now let's look again what it may look like in real life. So let's say if you have an issue generated for a data quality problem. Well, this is an example. So you see error in customers, the type action required, and then it's assigned to some person. Well, that's mean in this case it has a due date, and this issue has an attachment which is a data set. So I can click and I open upon a related data set, maybe that contains the problem, so I can look and investigate and see what can be done in this case. What's convenient is that issue attachments can be invoked right from the list of issues, so I don't have to open an issue. And if an issue has multiple attached commands, then I can open any of these commands or trigger a workflow right from here, right from an issue. Finally, issues can be generated not just automatically, but they can also be generated manually. So if I press new issue, then I create an issue title, problem, any exclamation marks, and now I can add a description. I can add different attachments like catalog assets, files, server tasks, assign it to people, and well, that issue will be taken care of eventually. So what else about issues? You can use issues to automate whole business processes. They're very customizable, so you can have custom issue types, issue states, and it plays very well also with external applications, so that you can have external tools. You can have Salesforce create an issue in EasyMorph through our webhook gateway. You can have you can link to other systems in the opposite direction. So you can attach links or computed links in issues, and those links will link to SharePoint pages or to Salesforce pages, or maybe to BI reports. So it's a very flexible tool that allows you to organize your teamwork and business processes. That's all on my end for today. We still have time for questions and answers, so please go ahead, and if you have any questions, then ask your questions right in the chat, or you can always book a demo, book a call with us, and we will talk. We will look at your specific cases, and we will try to help you automate your teamwork, your business processes, and maybe explore other opportunities how EasyMorph can be helpful for you. Right, let's look at the questions. Okay, there was a question from Mark, if it's local or if it's cloud-based. EasyMorph is 100% local application. It operates on a machine that you fully control. It's easy to install, easy to administer, and no data goes to the cloud, so everything remains on premises. Maybe if you are coming up with questions, I have a question to you. How does it look to you? Do you think that you have a challenge in your organization that can be addressed with issues, with boards and with the catalog, with the Explorer in general? Alex, can we unmute people?
Yeah, let me see
Does
if I
WebEx
can go
allow
ahead
it?
yeah, let me see.
You can also post your questions to the chat.
Okay, everyone can unmute themselves now if you'd like to talk.
John is asking about UI controls to the Morph, the UI controls in the short without a workaround for the. I think I understand your question. I think the right way of looking at EasyMorph Desktop, it's like a studio to work with data, to design workflows, to profile data. But the desktop itself is not supposed to be like a full-featured data automation solution. That's the role of the server. So you use desktop to design workflows, to design automations, but it's the server. It's the server that that provides collaboration, that provides a real-time integration, bi-directional webhooks, API integration, and stuff. Thank you, Frederick. Thanks for joining us. Meanwhile, I also wanted to tell a few words. We have a customer in the UK who is currently using issues, for instance, to resolve data quality problems. Over the last couple of years, they accumulated a big number of unresolved data quality issues and problems, and while they had a dashboard to indicate the number of those issues, of those problems, data quality problems, they didn't progress much in resolving those data quality problems. Then they started using issues in EasyMorph to organize work, to assign specific data quality problems to different team members, and over the course of a few weeks, they managed to take care of 80% of all the issues. So that was a great example how issues can be used and Explorer can be used to solve real life problems. Thank you, Romain, and thank you for joining the webinar. Alex?
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We appreciate you coming here. And if you would like to talk with Dimitri, Matt, or myself about anything you saw today, you can go ahead and book a demo with us or email us at sales@easymorph.com, or you can go ahead and email me back at marketing@easymorph.com, and we will get back to you. So thank you again for coming, and you will receive an email shortly, probably within a day. That includes a recording of the webinar as well as a one-pager of everything we went over. Thank you so much for coming, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you,
Everyone.
and bye, everyone.